You're listening to Short Inspirations from Ralph. Which way is your way? Part 2. So when we're talking about which way, we're talking about your particular spiritual pathway. And we've identified at least 7 through the work of author Gary Thomas. And at the end of the last episode, we looked at the first one, which is the intellectual pathway. That's people who draw closer to God the more they learn. It's a mind thing. And one person who probably walked in this pathway was the Apostle Paul. He writes about his life as a student of Gamaliel, one of the greatest Jewish scholars of his day. The richness of Paul's mind has occupied many of the great thinkers in the world for the past 2,000 years. But Paul did an amazing thing. He moved in the middle of his writing from thinking to praising. Now to him it was able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine according to his power that is at work within us. To him be the glory. The second is the relational pathway. People who follow the relational pathway find that they have a deep sense of God's presence when they're involved in significant relationships. They avoid solitude and being by themselves. It de-energizes them. Jesus' statement that where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them, makes perfect sense to a relational type. Small groups and other community experiences become indispensable. If this is you, there are no strangers in the world. It's exciting meeting new people. Possibly Peter, the disciple Peter, was a relational person. But there are 2 dangers to watch out for. One is superficiality. It's possible to get spread so thin relationally that no one gets past your external self to know who you are and love you and challenge you deeply. The second is to become dependent on others. And if so, you can become quite changeable. You change your colours to suit what's going on at the time. Here's the third one, the serving pathway. Serving pathway people find that God's presence seems most tangible when they're involved in helping others. Jesus' comment that whatever you did for the least of these you did for me is a truth that you embrace wholeheartedly. You might even be uncomfortable in a setting where you don't have a role to play. You've got to do something. Set up chairs, make coffee. You have this need to know God's delight in you. There was a woman in scripture called Dorcas in the book of Acts, very briefly mentioned. We're told that she was always doing good and involved in helping the poor. Mother Teresa would be a kind of modern icon for this pathway. One of the dangers to the server is the temptation to think that God is present only when they are serving. They may forget that they indeed are a son or daughter of the living God. The next is the worship pathway. People on the worship pathway resonate with the psalmist who wrote, I rejoice with those who said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. These ones have a natural gift for expression and celebration. Something deep inside them feels released when praise and adoration are given voice. Some of their most formative moments occur during times of worship. King David looks like he had this particular pathway. David writes about the complexity of things going on, and he says, when I tried to understand all this, it was oppressive to me, till I entered the sanctuary of God. And if this is you, you need to experience great worship on a regular basis. But be careful not to look at other people who aren't so outwardly expressive as not really being in touch with God. The next is the activist pathway. If you have this, you have a high level of energy. You resonate with statements in scripture such as the words of Jesus, zeal for your house will consume me. You do zeal. You're a zeal junkie. When you hear of a desperate need, you're the person that says, somebody's got to do something. I'm in. Who's with me? Challenges don't discourage you. Have a read of the life of Nehemiah, because that is a biblical example of an activist. Be careful that you may get so excited about the cause that you begin to run over other people or exploit them even because you get so focused on what you want to accomplish. The second last one is the contemplative pathway. If you have this, you love large blocks of uninterrupted time alone. It's very likely that when you were a child, your parents used to tell you to get outside and play with other kids. Reflection comes naturally to you. You often feel like an observer in life. The Apostle John, who was known as the disciple that Jesus loved, has been understood to be one who loved to bask in the adoration of God. You may need to stretch in the area of relationships. The last one is the creation pathway. Creation types find that they have a passionate ability to connect with God when they're experiencing the world He made. For you, there is something deeply life-giving and God-breathed about nature. Jesus loved nature. He wanted to be out there in God's creation. This was His Father's world. In our day, a caution may be that people may think, I don't need church, I can worship God on my own in nature. But we have to learn to see beauty where God does, and people are the most valued part of all that is created. God bless you today.